I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
All my passionate plant people and garden enthusiasts. Welcome to the Let's Get Growing Show, the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing Show, right here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. And yes, we've got another fantastic show for you today here this weekend. We've got today another appointment with our good friend, Dr. Jeff. Dr. Jeffrey Pierce joins with us just a little bit later in the show, talk a little bit about gardening as medicine. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about gardening for nutrition. What's the nutritional benefit of our gardens? So definitely stay tuned with us for this great conversation with Jeffrey Pierce coming up. Dr. Jeff coming up. Here we go. Right on, everybody. Let's go ahead and you know what to do. Let's click that thumbs up, hit the like button, as well as subscribe, bell notification up in the corner there to be notified of all of our upcoming live streams, videos, and all of that sort of good stuff. Definitely share with all of your garden friends out there. Let them know that we're here each and every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And big, huge shout out to all of you who are watching our replay. Thank you, Team Replay. Definitely drop into our comment section down below here on the video and leave us a comment. Let us know you were here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you've got growing on, how's the garden going, all of that sort of stuff. I want to hear all about it right down in the comment section below. Even if you want to just drop in and say hello, I love to see all of those comments from you guys coming in after the show. So thank you so much. And if you're here with us live today, definitely get into the chat with everybody there. Drop in, let us know you're here again. Just like all of our replay watchers, we've got actual roll call for all of you live viewers right now. So definitely do the same thing. Drop into our chat, our live chat here, and let us know where you're at, where you're growing from, what you've got growing on, what's coming up out of the garden, how's it going this year, all that sort of stuff. I want to hear all about it here for roll call coming up in just a few minutes. And again, we got Dr. Jeffrey Pierce with us today. So when we got a doctor in the house, it's a good time to be able to ask some questions. So definitely put in your questions later on here as we get Dr. Jeff with us on the show with us there. Drop those questions in, comments, all of that, and we'll feature those on the screen throughout the show there. And we just might ask one of your questions of Dr. Jeff. So definitely drop those in and follow all the links down below in the description for Dr. Jeff and our guests and our contributors and our other social media, all sorts of great fun stuff right down there in the description below. So definitely check all those out. Right on, everybody. Thank you so much for being here again. It's always great to be here with all of you. And I've been mentioning this the last week or so. We what was it, week before last? I don't know. Been a little bit, but anyways, we published a 2026 summer garden tour on the channel there. So a nice walk around, look at all of the different things that we've got growing on here around all of our different garden spaces. The back patio there, as you see in the picture, and our alleyway gardens and all the different other spaces and places that we're growing all sorts of just amazing, great stuff. And as I was mentioning yesterday on the show too, I gotta go back out and maybe film again here real soon and just do another tour. Maybe we'll just kind of do some every so many weeks. We'll just kind of do a little tour around and take a look at everything, because when I was looking around at the garden, I was like, man, there's a lot that's changed already. I mean, so much that's grown and changed since the last time or since I put out that video. So I'll have to do that here probably coming up this week or so and see if we can't put out another little look around, maybe a little quicker look around or something at some of the differences and changes and things that are happening in the garden space for sure. Yesterday also mentioned too, each weekend we're doing for up until this fall or whatever, or at least until we harvest, we're doing a little bit of a pumpkin watch. And I shared with you all last weekend and yesterday too, a little update on how our pumpkins growing out. Mind you, this is just a little alleyway space here, just a little spot right up in the corner next to my alleyway here. So we don't got a big, huge field or anything to grow our pumpkin in, but we're trying to grow a big, giant pumpkin. This is a Dill Atlantic pumpkin, and I have to say that I think this thing has doubled in size since I showed it all to you last week. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is definitely our best, most viable first fruit that we have off of our first vine. And then we have also a second vine. I'll show this picture again. There's actually two vines there coming out from where the fence is there. And the first pumpkin's on the first vine. And this one here is on our second vine. So these will be our two primary fruits that we're going to grow to see if we can't get the biggest pumpkin, or at least a bigger, break my own record as it is anyways. I grew 137-pound pumpkin several years ago, and so I'm going to try to break that record this year. I know it's not quite like all the records that you see of all the big record breakers, but if I could beat 137, I'm going to be feeling pretty darn good about it. We do have a couple of backups that I'm going to let go for just a couple of weeks until I feel really solid about our two primary fruits that we have. And then if they're going well and growing good, we will cut off all of those extra fruits and any other fruits that try to form on the plant so that it can concentrate all of its energy into those main fruits that are growing on each of those vines. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. It was kind of like my big goal for the year. I was like, if I'm going to do anything and I'm going to grow anything, I want to grow these big pumpkins. And the idea is just to grow a big pumpkin because I've got my granddaughter, and the idea was, at the end of the season to get some really great pictures with her and these big pumpkins, and hopefully, like I said, break my own personal best record for sure. And I think I'm pretty confident. I think we could do it, but we'll just have to see. What do we got here? No. It says, I want to see your spoon tomato plant. Has it taken over? I just love it. Yes. It's trying still. In fact, I was out there earlier and just thinking about how I got to actually get up there and start clipping off some more, because if you watch the video or the video tour that I did, I was letting everybody know that anything that comes through the cattle panel fencing that I have there, anything that grows through that, I'm cutting off, and I'm only going to let it spread in the back. But it's like that pumpkin. Since I shot that video tour, it's probably doubled in size for sure, but producing tons of great little tiny little spoon tomatoes. They're so delicious too. Let's see here. Dar says something is growing out my compost bin. It might be a pumpkin, melon, or squash. Yeah, that happens. That happens for sure. If you watch the video too, I also have a I'm going blank. Apple tree. I have an apple tree growing. It's in a big pot. It's growing in the back patio area, and I topped off with some compost on my different trees and everything this year. And I had I think it's a zucchini squash now that I see it. It's a little bit bigger, that popped up out of that compost that I put into that pot, and it's not going to do much trying to compete with that heavy root system of that tree and everything. But it's always interesting to see the types of seeds and things that make it through in our compost, and squash, curcubits, and those sort of things with big solid seeds like that. They're definitely likely to make it through into your compost. Um, But always great to see. Can't wait to see how well this pumpkin continues to turn out. I'll try to snap a new pictures for everybody to give you that pumpkin watch update next week as well too. We'll just keep a comparison, look out and watch on how this grows throughout the season, and hopefully it gets big and giant and breaks my 137-pound record. I'm just trying to figure out now too exactly how I'm going to weigh it though, if I do, because and I don't even really remember how we accomplished weighing it the last time, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Yeah, I want at least 200 pounds. That's what I'm thinking. I want 200 pounds. Right on, everybody. All right. So has everybody been jumping into our chat here, let me know where you're growing from, what you got growing on, and all of that sort of stuff? Because it's time right here. It's the top of the show. It's time for roll call.
My name is Kevin. Yeah. That is my name. Yeah. They call me Kevin. Yeah. Because that's my name. Roll call.
All right, roll call time. As I mentioned there at the top of the show, this is your opportunity as our live guests to get a little shout out here on the show by letting me know where you're growing from, what you got growing on, and all of that. Oh, sorry. There we go. Yes, where you're growing from, what you got growing in your garden. I want to hear all about it. So definitely drop into our chat there and let us know. Let's see who we've got with us. Of course, first up, we've got to say hello to our good friend, the J-Bot, our chat facilitator. Keep an eye out in the chat there for links and information and all sorts of stuff that Jay shares with us throughout the show. And she's joining us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada, in the lee of Lake Huron. Thank you, Jay, for being here with us today. We've got our good friend David from Bowtie Life. David's coming up. We've got him in the garden coming up here in just a few minutes as well, too. Triple G greetings, global gardeners from Old Destin, where tomatoes, sweet peppers, and some seriously spicy peppers are keeping the harvest baskets full every single day. Excellent. Yes, some spicy peppers. If you caught our community show last week, David shared some of his spicy peppers they're harvesting right now that I think he's going to be eating here in probably a few weeks or so when it comes to the end of the growing season here. All right. Janet joining with us as well. Janet, always great to see you. Thanks for being here today. Janet says, this is going to be great. Of course. It's Let's Get Growing show. It's always going to be great. I mean, we always have a great time here. We have a great time because all of you are here with us as well, too. So thank you so much. Sean the gardener, he says, hello, everyone, watching from Cornwall, UK. Great to have you, Sean. Thank you so much for being here. And nope, joining us here. Definitely awesome. Says it's 109 degrees, 9% in Las Vegas. Just lovely. 109. Yeah, I know. We've been kind of avoiding some of those hundreds. We've had like maybe just one or two so far this summer, but I think we got a stack of them coming up this next week for us here as well, too. Not quite 109, I don't think, but I think we got some 103s, 104s, and those sort of things coming up here in the next couple of days here in the Southern Oregon area. So it's going to get warm. I feel you for sure. Darth says, good morning from the Pacific Northwest, Vancouver Island. Awesome. All right. Chad from Down Home Backyard Gardening in the chat with us here. Awesome to have you here. Thanks, Chad, for joining with us. Michael O'Connor joining us from North Alabama Mountains 8A. Thanks, Michael. It's always great to have you here with us. Thank you so much. Dusty Flats. Hello. Sunny, nice day in Wisconsin. Plants and I are very happy after Saturday's 3 inches of rain. Man, that must have been nice. I have time to actually garden instead of watering. Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. That would be nice because especially with these high temperatures I've got coming up here real soon. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of watering coming up in the next few days. I could use some of that 3 inches of rain for sure. Cornwall, UK. Sean says Cornwall, UK is growing onions, carrots, roses, dahlias, of course. Yes, definitely. Zinnias, tomatoes, onion sets, shallots, and everlasting flowers. Lovely, awesome. Sounds like a bunch of just amazing things coming up out of your garden right now. All right, Vic Gardens. Awesome. Great to have you here. Having a busy but great day. Hope all is good with you. Hope it's all going great as well. Busy, busy, busy. I know how that goes too as well. All right, down home backyard gardening. Checking in from Spring, Texas, Zone 9B, growing okra, peppers, beans, squash. And did I mention okra? Must have lots and lots of okra. Lovely. Awesome. Awesome. Janet says, hi from the edge of Texas, Hill Country, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. And it'll be 94 today, mild for August. Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Nice and mild. I mean, that's about where we have been, though, I would have to say. That's been our summer so far as our our high temperatures. We're getting right up into the mid 90s about. Look to nature. Hey, gardeners, what's cracking? What's cracking with you? Look to nature. Hope you're having a great week in your gardens. Kevin in the chat with us as well, too. Just finished turning the compost pile. Awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. We've got Darth says, planted 8-ball zucchini seeds today. We'll see if we get anything. Yeah. The way they grow, I wouldn't be surprised for sure, especially being in a nice warm part of the season. You might just get a nice, good, fast start. And then, then they'll start pumping out like crazy. I've already got zucchinis popping out off of my plants already. So, yeah, with lots more expected to come for sure. Look to Nature says, I had to scrap my pumpkin vines. Squash vine borer got to me. Yikes. Oh, man, I'm telling you, I would hate to have to deal with that. I feel for you all who have got to deal with the squash vine borer. Janet says, Hill Country here, 9A. Yes, crops from near equator for our... Oh, it's not finished. Okay. Yes. Excellent, Janet. Thank you for being in the chat with us here. Sean the Gardener says, got a large, what's that, Hessian sack under your pumpkin and a few friends. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see here. Yep. Jay says, we are happy. Yes, we are so happy that you all have joined with us here today. I see Joe sneaking in here at the end from Cornwall as well, too. Thank you so much. Thanks for jumping into the party late. It doesn't matter. We got you here. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you, everybody, for dropping into our roll call for today. And if you didn't get a chance to drop in, get your shout out here for roll call. Definitely continue to drop into the chat. And like I mentioned, too, questions for Dr. Jeff coming up, comments, all that sort of stuff. Drop those into the chat. We'll feature those at the bottom of the screen throughout the show. All right. Excellent. Real quick here, though, before we get moving on, I was just going to mention, or wait. Yes. Mention real quick here about what we had happening. Did you all get to check out the show yesterday? We had just an amazing, fun time. Great show. Jennifer Jewell was our featured guest yesterday from Cultivating Place. We had just a fantastic conversation with Jennifer. And we had Doug from the Croc Gardener joined with us for our Are You Following Me? So we got to meet Doug, another one of the Coast to Coast crew yesterday. We had like I said, just a great show yesterday. So if you didn't get a chance to watch that show, you definitely want to go check it out on the replay. And remember, drop into the comments there for sure. And if you didn't get the chance to join with us or check out last weekend's show, we did 2 weekends of our community show last week. And it was really great to see all of you and to get to talk with you all about your gardens. I love these community shows where you, the audience, are the guest. That's right, you, the audience. And again, we do it like this radio call-in show. I share with you the link to come and join with us, and we get to talk with you all about all the great things that you have growing on. So those are always some of my favorite conversations, to be able to get to connect with all of you viewers who join with us each and every weekend here. So again, if you didn't get a chance to check those out, definitely go back and check those out. We also kind of snuck in a bit of a fundraiser during our show last week. So if you didn't get a chance to drop in for a little donation, remember, no donation is too small. We appreciate all that you contribute. We had some great donations last weekend, and Jay also pledged to double donations. And I think she's continuing to do that if you want to sneak one in this weekend as well too. So we really appreciate those. I've got links down below in the description to Cash App, Venmo, or PayPal. And yeah, again, I really appreciate everything that you can donate to help us continue to put out this show and to pay our bills. Bills are definitely coming due all the time around here, but the big one, our StreamYard one, was definitely for this time. So why we were looking to do a fundraiser. So again, I appreciate all that you all contribute to help out there. So thank you so much. All right, everybody. All right. As I mentioned just a little bit ago, we've got our good friend David from Bowtie Life in the garden. Let's see what he's got growing on.
In this video, I want to take a walk around the garden with a specific topic in mind to give you, hopefully, some ideas on things you can do to help protect plants. First off, thank you very much to Enoch and the Let's Get Growing show on the Urban Gardener channel for allowing us to continue to contribute these in the garden segments and be a part of the show. We've really enjoyed these segments and just look forward to doing this every month. Anyone who's seen my videos know that I'm a little bit of a chaotic gardener, and it's my brain. It's just kind of how my brain works. Everything out here is kind of an aspect of what's happening and what's going on in my brain. And yeah, it's a little messy. It's why I always end my videos with, your garden doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. But one of the important things that I've talk about frequently in a lot of the garden tours and other videos that we do is different ways to protect your plants. And you know, we're looking at the grape arbor back here, and it is out here in a sunny spot, but if you look underneath inside this, it truly becomes a whole different world in here. It's a few degrees cooler, it doesn't get any sun in here, and believe it or not, some things grow down here. Now, most people might look at this and say, oh, that's terrible. What good is that? Well, my brain works a little different sometimes. Yeah, it's broken, I know, and I really embrace that. But my brain looks here and says, okay, what can grow here? What does go here? And so we look at the things that plants do and the things that go on in the garden, and we can very quickly decide, you know, there's got to be advantages to this area right here. And one of my favorite advantages is just to put in here a chair and sit in the cool. One of these days, maybe I'll install a TV or something and we'll just have this neat little living room inside here. Oh, wouldn't that be a lot of fun? Now, a perfect example of this is this tree right here above us. This tree creates a lot of shade in this area. And that means I can grow certain plants that I can't necessarily grow elsewhere. I can grow things here that will do better than they would out in the wide open sun. One of my favorite examples is this turmeric right here. These turmeric plants, they grow here just beautifully and they thrive. I want you to look at this video and maybe get some ideas. Do some critical thinking. Go in here and look at this thing and decide, okay, how can this apply to my garden? And here's the cool part. You're gonna think of better ways to do it for your garden. That's just the way it works, and that's what makes gardening so much fun, because you can apply your personality to your own garden and come up with things that maybe no one has ever thought of. Now, perfect example you can see right here below my feet are these coleus that we've been growing. I grew these from seed, and I'm just trying to experiment with seeing how good they can grow in this shady spot. I think they probably will like a sunny spot better. We grow them down at the church building, and they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. But I'm wondering how they would grow here, because I want to try to add more color, especially this purple color, to our gardens all over the place. We're going for the yellow and the purple. And so I want to see if this works here. Don't be afraid to experiment. Look at that big tree. See what grows under there. The great thing about saving seeds, I can save as many seeds as I want to and plant 30 of these, 30 of them, anywhere in the garden that I want to, and see how they grow for the season. Back to protecting our plants. And yes, I've got the camera set a little farther away right now so you can see this tree and this tree. Now the sun literally goes through the sky like that. In fact, the sun right now is behind this big Pendo date palm over here. But I want to show you what's happening with this tree right here. This camellia right here likes a little bit of shade. Not all shade, but mostly shade during the day. So this thing is going to get an hour or two of sun, especially during its younger life. But it's going to grow up and it's going to fill in the space up here. Might get about 15, 20 feet tall, but the flowers that it makes are beautiful. Now behind it here, we have a row of turmeric that's just very impressive. It's going to provide a little more shade for those. But even with the sun already hitting this turmeric is already performing amazingly. Look at that bloom under there. This is what a turmeric bloom looks like, and it is gorgeous. It makes a wonderful stalk. It'll go in a vase of water and stay there for a very long time. Isn't that beautiful? So the next time you're buying a new plant or a new seed to grow, pay attention to those light and shade requirements and see what you can do. And do me a favor, see what you can get away with. That's the fun part. Another thing you can do is you can plant up against structures like your house, maybe that grape arbor that we saw at the beginning, or check out this fountain that I picked up off of Curb Mart one day. It offers a great protection for these coleus around the bottom, and look at those nasturtium just growing strong. They don't like as much direct sun, so they will actually perform better on the shady side of this old fountain. Look at that, and the flowers are just amazing, though I'll admit, we've eaten most of them. Think of your garden not so much as isolated plants, but a neighborhood of plants. All these plants cooperating together. We have the magnolia in here. We have more of the turmeric in here. And look down in there. We even have some of our dino kale trying to grow up and get its own space. And it will, because these things can work together. I do let a lot of weeds come through like this. This is a Mexican rough clover. But you know what? I can pull them out easy when I want to. And frankly, I just don't want to. I love the look of the full beds. Taller plants can protect more delicate plants from wind, sun, and whatever else nature might be blowing your way. Now, many of you know that tomatoes can be a little bit tender as well. The sun shines on them in our Florida heat. Oh my goodness, they just suffer in our Florida heat. But I'm able to keep my tomatoes producing by the use of shade cloth. Now, shade cloth doesn't block the sun, it softens the sun. And the shade cloth, this is actually 50% shade cloth, which means it softens about 50% of the sun. And my tomatoes, some of them, will continue producing all summer long. And remember the turmeric that we started with? Well, it loves the shade cloth, and it grows strong under here, along with ginger and a bunch of other things like the weeds that I allow to grow. But this turmeric is growing strong. This bed right here could give me over 20 or 30 pounds of turmeric in a single season. And I guess here's the real proof of the pudding. Here's a bell pepper. We all know how badly these do in the heat of the summer. Well, we're in the end of July, and we've got bell peppers still coming out in our Florida heat. Look at that beauty right there. Even the trunk of an old dead tree can provide a trellis for a beautiful star jasmine. Speaking of trellising, this Everglades tomato is huge. It's indeterminate. It'll grow and grow and grow. Right now, that branch right there is almost 12 feet long, and it can grow up to 20 feet long and longer. Another one of my very favorite methods to protecting plants is these okra, where I'm using a Florida weave. Now, these okra will grow up to 17 feet tall. They grow huge. But without the Florida weave, they would just fall over in the first major wind that we got, and it would be a problem. And you can see there's a string going through here, and that's it. And that's supporting these 4-foot tall okra. By the end of September, these things should be twice as tall as that. And I will have put in another string somewhere up in here to continue supporting it. Another thing I'll actually support with the Florida weave, and by the way, I didn't name this, someone else named it long before I ever came along, is our sunflowers. This is Mrs. Bowtie's brand new sunflowers. We've had trouble with sunflowers actually failing, not making it through our winds and breaking off on the stalk. Another place that I'm going to end up using the Florida weave will be my sugar cane over here. And it's growing nice and tall. It does have a tendency to lean over, but I can already tell I'm going to want to tie it up to make it go nice and straight. Here's one of those sunflowers that broke over in Tropical Storm Bertha that just came through here just a few days ago. So whether it's another plant, a little bit of shade, or a little bit of support, it doesn't have to be complicated. And the smallest amount of support can make a world of difference. I hope maybe this gave you some new ideas, or maybe got you thinking about some other ideas. I would love to see what your ideas are right off the bat here in the chat in this video. I know some of you are already doing something, or you've just had a brainstorm about something else. And I'd love to hear what's going through your mind. Again, thank you, Enoch, for allowing us to be a part of this In the Garden series. Your garden doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Have a blessed day, friend.
Hello, Let's Get Growing Live gardening community. I'm Charles Malky, biologist and co-founder of Ivy Organic brand products. Ivy Organic is based on whitewashing, a time-tested way to protect plants from summer sunburn, winter sun scald, pests, transplant shock, and environmental stresses. Unlike latex or tar-based products that crack, peel, and leave residue on your soil indefinitely, Ivy Organic is truly organic and a healthier alternative. It dries on porous, allowing plants to breathe and heal naturally without rotting. Also ideal for protecting your pruning and grafting wounds. Available in white for maximum reflection, or natural tones like brown, green, gray, and grayish. Ivy Organic protects while blending beautifully with your landscape. Choose from the whitewash oil-free formula or the 3-in-1 plant guard made with natural oils to help repel insects and rodents. Protect your plants the smart, organic way with Ivy Organic. Learn more at ivorganics.com, and wishing you all happy gardening.
Oh, we need full screen. Back at it here. All right, everybody. Thank you, David from Bowtie Life in the Garden, for a great in the garden segment. I mean, really in the garden. I mean, how cool is that, getting up inside of that arbor like that? I mean, just what a wonderful space. I couldn't be able to get enough of that for sure. So again, thank you, David. Everybody go check out David over at Bowtie Life in the Garden. We got links down below for you in the description. And also, big huge shout out to our sponsor, Ivy Organics. Go check them out at ivyorganics.com. Go get yourself some of that 3-in-1 plant guard over there, and definitely be sure to use our promo code GROW10, GROW10, to get 10% off. And yeah, awesome. Great to have you all here with us again. Thank you for being here and hanging out with us today. We got our guest coming up in just one moment here. I did want to mention to you that we got another great show coming for you here on the Let's Get Growing show next Saturday. We have joining with us Nick Sumpsis. Nick from Farmer Nick is joining with us next Saturday on the show. Really excited about having Nick on with us, talk all about what he's got growing on. So definitely be sure to join with us next Saturday for the show. And next Sunday edition of the show, I just got an email. We were supposed to have our good friend Gardner Scott. It's been a couple of months since we had him on, but he had something come up again, so he's got to go and do something, and we'll have to kind of postpone one more time. And I'm working on getting us a really fantastic guest to come hang out with us and have another discussion and all of that too. So keep an eye out. We will be back here also for next Sunday edition as well for the show too. Also, our monthly gardening book club is on the third Sunday of the month. And that's when we got our good friend, Mr. NBC, Mark Roche Colbert, joining with us live on the show for In the Garden and co-hosting a discussion with Charlie Nardozzi. We got Charlie joining with us to talk all about his new book, The Continuous Vegetable Garden. So right on, really excited about hanging out and talking to Charlie with our good friend Mark on the third Sunday of the month. So definitely look forward to that coming up as well. So, all right, everybody, are you ready? Are you ready? Because it's time for another appointment with our Dr. Jeff. All right. I really like that tune. What do we got here? Dr. Jeff joining with us here, back on the show. Always great to have you here, Jeff. Thank you for being with us.
So happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Nick. It's great to listen in to what you've been sharing, what David was sharing, and always learn something on your channel.
Oh, right. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, definitely. We're always, and we are always learning something because, I get all these amazing people to come and hang out and talk with us, like yourself, with all this great knowledge about things to share with us and everything too. So I don't credit myself too much with all of that. I credit myself with bringing the knowledge to the show.
Important role.
Yes. So thank you so much again for hanging out with us here. It's always great here every couple months getting to hang out with you and talk about different aspects of gardening as medicine. And today we're going to talk a little bit about gardening and nutrition, growing things, growing our food, right? I mean, again, we spent some time over the last few different times we've been here, we're talking about, aspects of de-stressing. A couple of months or a few months back, we did some blue zones talking about, longevity and things like that and stuff. Some really, really great aspects of our garden space and what we can get from it. But, a lot of us get into it to grow food, to grow the things that we're going to eat, and, our flower gardeners and all of that, all gardeners are welcome, but a lot of us here, especially myself, growing food in our different garden spaces. So a lot of us are thinking about, growing this food, for better nutritional value, right? Things that, we talk a lot about in a lot of gardeners, a lot of, creators and content creators and communicators out there in the gardening world are always talking about food we get from the grocery store, right? And and how better the food is for us that we can grow for ourselves in our own gardens, right? Yeah. So
Yep.
yeah, sorry, I should have led with a question there for sure, but but yeah, so let's kind of dig into that. Maybe you can kind of talk just a little bit about that. About why you garden for one. Too, tell us maybe a little bit about again, we usually start with talk about how your garden's growing and all of that. So maybe jump in with a little bit of how the garden's growing and all of that. Maybe some of the reasoning that you have behind your gardening and growing for for the nutritional value.
Sure. Happy to. I garden. My family and I garden in Northern California. We're a handful of miles from the coast, so we have coastal influence. That means that this week, while we've been getting to 95, 98 during the day. It still cools down to about 55 at night,
Oh, that's nice.
which is interesting, right? Because you could be zone 9B like what we are and have very different summers, right? But that just is what our summer is like. We have a lot of the Pacific coastal fog that comes in at night. And so we are doing the usual veggies with, pepper, tomato, eggplant, and cucumber and all that. Still have greens going. The collards, it's not the best part of the year for the purple tree collards, but that and the kale and the chard, which self-seeds, are our main greens still. And then I'm super nerdy about the fruit. And so we have today I had the second crop of raspberries are up. We have a bunch of different kinds of grapes that are ripe. Our peaches are ripe. We got some plums and pluots, pears and apples, et cetera, et cetera. And stuff that we're not picking right now, but is liking the heat. We've got some of the experimental stuff. So the mango and papaya and some of that, and bananas are growing. We'll see how they do over the winter. But I think there are a couple of things that that I would love to make sure we touch base on today. I think that, like you mentioned, gardening of any type is beneficial to our health, right? We have the stress reduction from the interaction with the soil and the plants, the beautiful flowers that we look at, the sound of the birds. All these things have been shown to help with cortisol, stress, and et cetera. But there's that extra benefit of being able to eat super healthy food that you garden yourself. I think in my mind, and this is just a personal opinion, I suppose, but if you had a quarter acre of space to grow and you did nothing but flowers, and then went to the store and got some sad produce that was picked on the other part of in the other part of the country or out of the country, and it's a bit of a loss, right? And so I'm a big fan of trying to grow as much food as possible so that you are busy in the garden and preferably eating from the garden multiple times every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was just thinking, and I didn't think about this until just now, but maybe you could help explain this for other folks out there who maybe don't understand as much about it or anything. But one of the aspects of buying our food outside of our own gardens, going to a store or this and that, is that there comes some dangers to it as well, too, right? So recently, we've had some, and I can't even try to pronounce what it's called, but
Cyclospora.
Yeah. Okay. Cyclospora. We had this issue with, I believe, lettuces or, these greens that are commercially produced, right? So something in the handling of how they deal with their large scale production is causing this danger, right? And then that, tell us a little bit about this cyclos. What is it?
Cyclospora. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a number of pathogens, a number of primarily bacteria that can be picked up from the commercial food stream. Now, I would say in the United States, we have a very safe, generally speaking, produce. You hear about outbreaks
and things, and
our produce are just the food that we get from the grocery store, from the CSAs, all this kind of stuff. It's really safe. There's lots of places around the world that still have that still use night soil, that still use there's more human waste in the water and in the growing practices, and you're just much more likely to get, say, E. coli infections than you are here in the United States. And I love not being able to go to a store if I need to buy a head of lettuce and not, for the most part, think that I have to worry about getting diarrhea from it. But but it's not foolproof. The system
Yeah.
has its flaws, and one of the main areas of contamination when you hear about a outbreak in spinach from E. coli, cyclospora, and all this kind of stuff is contamination, often at the source of water runoff from associated animal farms, factory farms, etc. And so, you'll see a screenshot from the satellite showing, here's this huge field of spinach, and it's downstream from a big factory farm where cows are huddled closely together and they're getting all sorts of antibiotics and breeding antibiotic resistant bacteria. And sometimes some of that runoff gets into the leaves of the lettuce. And if they're not washed well, then, we pick up that infection. And so I hate it when a patient says, yeah, I heard about this latest, lettuce outbreak, so I'm going to stop eating vegetables. It's just like,
Right.
yeah, no, wash your vegetables really well. Contact your state representative and U.S. representative to complain about the contamination coming from the factory farms and what we can do to try to improve that. But still eat your vegetables, and of course, grow your own as well to be extra sure that you're not going to have this problem, because most of us don't have factory farm runoff in our backyard.
Yeah, yeah. Are there things that you can think of that do present possible dangers or things that could affect food that we grow ourselves in our own gardens?
Well, it sometimes comes up for heavy metal contamination. So, say your subdivision used to be, a coal farm or a lead working area, or, these areas that have had that have higher risk contamination of some of these heavy metals that can be persistent in the soil for a long time. And so, what some people will do is to run a soil test once to make sure, especially if you're growing in ground. If you're growing in pots, that's not the issue. But if you're growing in ground and you're in a place that you're like, man, this used to be a really industrial part of town that my house is in, then just run a soil test specifically looking for heavy metals. I'm checking this the tag that's down at the bottom. It's talking about high risk, the leafy greens and the berries. One thing that a classic outbreak that happened, I believe, in raspberries, and it was either isospora or cyclospora a couple of decades ago. And part of the reason is that they have these nooks and crannies, and it's very hard. It's easy to rinse off an apple with the smooth skin, but harder to rinse off a berry with all those nooks and crannies, and to really be able to get into the crevices. And we're using a dilute baking soda solution help. I don't think that's been tested against stuff like cyclospora and isospora and related things. So I think watch the news for an outbreak if you're buying all your produce from from the stores. But the more we can grow, the better, right? So like I grow all these different kinds of berries: blackberries, raspberries, and loganberries, and berries, and all these things. And it's so nice just to be able to pick them and pop them in your mouth and not worrying about rinsing them off. Now, I understand I'm lucky to have land it's not even land, but I mean land is just to own my own house with a yard. I'm lucky, and not a lot of people have that. Also for those folks who don't have their own plot, there's always access to access to community gardens, to allotments, to local small farms that are going to have a probably lower risk of this.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, Shawnee is asking about washing. So washing very well. I mean, again, that was one of the things I was hearing is like some of this stuff doesn't wash off very well either, right? So she's mentioning like soaking for 15 minutes, using baking soda, vinegar, these sort of things. Those the sort of things you're recommending?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have a scientifically evidence-backed answer to that. So let me do a search, and then we'll circle back to that, Shawnee. Thanks. Good question.
Yeah. Dusty Flats was asking, why was Minnesota hit so hard? Are they all vegetarians? I mean, I just suppose that, again, this is just one of the, that it's a factory farm, right? This probably got in at a certain point of their process and probably spread for a little bit through that part of the process. And then that product was just destined for that area, right? Through that whole different process of their of how they do that. It's kind of what I'm just imagining, that it just it just seems that where they were sending the stuff to that specific area there, right? That, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know specifically in this case, but it's often more traceable to, the infected farm happened to have a lot of shipments to this one area. No, Michigan does not have a lot of vegetarians compared to other places. Yeah. It's certainly unfortunate, and it's part of life, but it's certainly magnified by the unhealthy conditions of factory farms, chickens, pigs, beef, etc. And so what we can do ourselves is reduce our the amount that we consume. If you're not a vegetarian or not a vegan, you can still choose to eat less meat from these sources, and to complain like I said, to bring it up politically as much as possible, because we have to fight the power of these extremely wealthy lobbyists that have such a huge role in government policy. I mean, we saw our recent 2025 guidelines at the national level come out, and everyone or almost everyone on the panel had financial ties to big ag and beef, and like that. So it's an uphill battle for sure.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to the money and power, like you said, that these type of companies have, it's that's what makes a lot of this such a big, huge issue. That's why, again, so many folks turn to growing their own food and starting their own gardens and things, is because of stories and things like this that start to happen and make people concerned about what they're buying. Because again, if we're kind of stuck having to buy from these large companies like that, they don't really care. Their bottom line or their profit margins don't care about our health, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a horrible situation that we've kind of found ourselves in. And I understand they're trying to keep the doors open, they're trying to make money, they're trying to support their shareholders and all this kind of stuff. But unfortunately, folks at the household are the ones that are often suffering. I found an answer for Shawnee's question about, so what do we know scientifically about washing produce well? And so this is off of an evidence-based AI engine called Open Evidence that a lot of docs are using now, just to be transparent. But it says that, yes, upstream from the source is probably the most important protection, but what can we do downstream in the kitchen? So it talks about the difficulty of just why washing with water is not usually sufficient because of the surface texture that we mentioned, getting into the crevices, and how they can attach well. And so it looks like some studies have looked at running water plus rubbing and shaking and then drying seems to help some. Vinegar at 5% vinegar for 3 minutes. So a soak for 3 minutes, followed by a tap water rinse, was the most effective at reducing E. coli on lettuce and cucumbers. And so, E. coli is by far the most common of the pathogens to cause problems. And so it says avoid soaking in a shared basin, which makes sense because that, if you're soaking in the same sink that you're cutting your, raw chicken in, you're just of course cross-contaminating with stuff that you've brought in. The problem with Cyclospora specifically, the part of the life cycle is with something called oocysts, and that's just a very tough form of their life cycle where it's hard to inactivate that, or in other words, to kill them at the oocyst stage. And so it's a real, some of these bugs are really difficult to deal with. So cooking takes care of a lot of things. So, if it's kale and spinach, that's what you can, of course, cook that all the time. But, most of us don't cook our lettuce. Cooking our berries unless we're putting it, in a crumble or something like that. And so, there's just some real concerns out there, and another good reason to try to grow as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I remember when I was first just discovering that I can grow my own food. That was kind of my first discovery with my first cucumber I grew. It was just kind of like this, aha moment, right? Like, oh, wow, I can do that. But immediately after that was just like, oh, I can really grow my own food. I could really, produce some of this stuff that I'm buying from the grocery store right out of my own garden space. And then immediately, again, it just gets you into that thought process about food, about things, and you start thinking about some of this stuff. And I remember early on, just thinking, really understanding how important some of the growing of my own stuff was, because of certain issues and things that seem to kind of always pop up throughout the food system itself. And again, really has to do, and reiterate this one more time, is that I think really in the long run it has to do with our like overscaling and allowing for overscaling of things, these large corporations to do things because they just skip steps and they skip important regulations and things when it affects their profit margins, and they can make more money. They just and that sort of thing. So for me, and I suppose, like I said, things can happen in this, but it's probably on a far smaller scale with smaller family farms that are taking care of things in different ways. Or that's why I like buying things at the farmers markets, local farms and things as well too. And growing our own becomes really important too. So again, just
can I comment on that? So some people say, but hey, look, these big corporations, they have all these regulations and safety regulations that they have to meet, and then you've got like some guy or gal with like 5 chickens in their backyard, and they're not like passing any health inspections. Like, how can that be any safer? And I think it keeps coming back to how just extremely difficult, and we should say how impossible it is to keep a sanitary mega farm. It's like impossible to raise 10,000 chickens without there being mass infection. And it's just part of the equation that they're like, okay, we're going to have a huge percentage of loss, and we're going to, try to do our best to cull this and that, blah, 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 blah. But it's just part of when animals don't have enough time to have, space and air and sun and there's a lot of greenwashing where it's just like, oh yeah, we're cage free, and it's because maybe they get an hour's worth of sunshine or something like that, and then they're back in the factory. And so the backyard chicken farmer, just the homeowner with a couple garden chickens don't tend to have that that sort of space issue, right? They're eating the bugs, they're scratching around the garden, and they've got plenty of space. And so it's just very hard. And
I think demand down the line as well, like with they don't have, you're dealing in the backyard right there, right with your chickens, your, the food you're growing and everything. But in the process of a corporation, there's so many different people, managers and workers and that, and somewhere within there's quota demands, and there's all these other things that corporations put on to their own, their own people, where you got to imagine there are regulations that might be there, and you might say, hey, they're heavily regulated, but yet they skip those things. and they bypass some of that stuff. If the, you know, if the manager's demand and quota is this much, he might be like, you know what, let's just roll this way. Let's just do this just to get this out, you know, because we've got to meet these demands by our, you know, you know, by the CEOs and on, you know, these sort of things and stuff. So I think that a lot of it is just, again, it's that large scale management of things. Just something breaks down along the line and allows for these big gaps, and that can allow for this stuff to kind of find its way through their, you know, their production systems and stuff. And again, how they care for the animals, you know, stuffing them into smaller spaces and more in those spaces, you know, that sort of thing, you know, again, comes down to the demand, the expectations of what this corporation wants, and as far as its output is concerned. And yeah, and there's just so much that can go wrong in that type of system versus us in our backyard, you know. Yeah.
That's true, and all that's true. And I think if we happen to have an infection in one of our hens, like, so we used to have chickens a long time ago. We don't have any now, but just speaking sort of generally, like if you had an infection in one of your hens, you know, maybe your family gets sick with some diarrhea or whatever, but you're probably not distributing eggs or meat from your flock to 500,000 people or 10 million people, right? And I think that's one of the issues with where it's something like, what is it? It's like 3 or 5 companies have the, you know, all the, there are like 3 or 5 centers in the United States where either pork or beef like tend to go through. And so that just means that if one of those factories has a major outbreak, there's tons of people are affected by it. And I guess the other part of that is where when ground beef used to come from a single cow, that was one thing. But like if you have ground beef that happens to come from a whole bunch of cows, maybe from different farms, you also then are combining your risk as well. So
just one thing in there then now affects all of these other things.
So it's tricky. And I would say another reason to eat more plants in general, and especially if you can grow them yourselves. You know, I think so many reasons why it's beneficial, but safety is one. You know, I also enjoyed during COVID we were lucky that we were growing things, right? So we didn't necessarily have to go to the store all the time for fetch vegetables when we were especially at the very beginning when we didn't have any vaccines, and the illness rate that was the illnesses were more severe and the death rate was higher. There's a benefit of being able to get stuff from your own yard. You're also more likely to want to finish all this great stuff, right? Because you cared for that tomato from seed to harvest, and you really don't want that tomato to go bad.
The value is higher now.
If it's just something you bought from the store, you never met the farmer, you have no investment in that other than you wasted a couple bucks on a nice heirloom tomato or something.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Shawnee's asking, can you speak about nutrition in our garden produce and the levels of getting the most from it? Eating fresh versus juicing versus proper food preparation for maximum benefits.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question, Shawnee. I think, you know, number one really is just eating more produce, eating more stuff from our garden is the most important part, right? You know, I have one of my groups is a group of pregnant and postpartum women who are part of a county clinic, and someone was like, well, I saw that there's this evidence about that if you put blueberries and bananas together in a smoothie, then one of the enzymes in the bananas cuts down on some of the antioxidant power from the blueberries. And I've been putting blueberries and bananas in my shakes forever. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It's like the benefit that you get from eating drinking a shake that has bananas and blueberries and some spinach in it, that far outweighs the loss. Now, if you really want to maximize this, then, mix it up and maybe don't have that blueberry banana shake every day and whatever makes it up. But the most important part is that you're just consuming as much produce as possible. Okay, so that's number one.
Yeah.
But for folks who are really trying to say, yeah, I'm already eating a lot of fresh veggies and stuff, but how can I really just take it to the next level? I'm not going to worry about it, but I do want to try to make it better. I think eating the whole food has been shown over and over to be better than juicing in general. And so, we have a good friend, John Kohler, who's
Yes.
big into juicing and stuff. And he will tell you, predominantly what you should be juicing if you're juicing is vegetables. Don't juice your fruits, because removing all that fiber and then just drinking the, apple juice or the grape juice or the orange juice is not great for us. It's a big fructose load, and it doesn't have that fiber to balance the sugar spike and all this kind of stuff. And so, every once in a while, if I've got a big load of really sweet Zinfandel grapes or something, maybe I'll run that through a juicer just for the fun of it, and we're having our little non-alcohol wine or whatever. But in general, we should, if we're juicing, juice veggies instead. John's a fan of juicing his veggies because he grows a whole bunch of veggies, and he says, like, I'll never be able to eat that many veggies, and so, like, by juicing it, I get a whole lot more in me. I'm like, cool, yeah, that's awesome. But he is predominantly juicing veggies, which is great. So if you want to juice veggies, lovely. If you're going to do something with fruit in it, I generally recommend smoothies, because then it keeps all that fiber in there, which is super important for us. Fiber is, we should be adding more fiber to our plates at the restaurant instead of, what's your protein? It should be, what's your fiber? We need to really be adding more and more fiber, because we're really deficient in it compared to what we used to eat a couple hundred years ago. Cooking methods like raw versus not, there's some vegetables that and fruits that, have a different ratio of nutrients when they're cooked versus raw. I'm not a raw foodist myself. I was just talking with an expert on raw food yesterday, Rick and Karen Dina, who are very great educators in the field. And I personally think that it's great for us to have a mix of raw and cooked stuff. And so it seems, it almost seems too simplistic, but, just eat a variety of raw versus cooked, fresh versus frozen is fine, blended versus whole, just more of it. I think when you look at the average Americans, where they get their calories, about 85% is either from ultra processed food, is a combination of ultra processed food and animal products. And that leaves about 15% of minimally to unprocessed plants. And that's just not a formula for good health. It's a formula for illness. And when you look at the areas traditionally in the blue zones, it's flipped. It's more like about 10 to 15% of their calories coming from animal products and some processed stuff, and predominantly just simple whole foods, right? Beans and rice, squash, corn, mushrooms, greens, fruits, and that's where the vast majority of our calories need to be coming from. 80% of the oxygen. Oh wait, it's John from Growing Your Green.
John's in the chat there. This is correct. I do not recommend juicing fruit.
Yes.
I just made my green juice for the week. 8 quarts.
Yeah.
Drank 1.5 quarts today.
So John's a great example of how he's consuming far more of these antioxidants and of all these phytonutrients from his greens and his other veggies. And look what he's doing. He's doing ashitaba and kale and dandelions, cucumbers. Like, that's a huge mix of different compounds that if you're just, drinking cucumber juice all day, you don't get the benefit of a vast variety of stuff. And most people don't know this, but John's actually 110 years old, and he looks that.
Yes, that's right. It's right.
Yeah. And so I think there's definitely a wide variety of ways to get your nutrition in, and the vast majority of the health is just consuming the plants. And then we can sort of try to fine tune and see what the evidence shows about this, like top 5% of, juicing without oxygen, or should it be freeze dried, or should it be raw, or should it be cooked? Like that's all interesting and cool stuff. But step one for the vast majority of us is that we really just need to be getting 80 to 90 to 100% of our calories from minimally processed plant foods, because that's what's been shown from study after study, that eating more plant foods is really the key to health. You don't have to be a vegan if you don't want to be, but like if you're like, well, I can still be healthy but with eating 80% ultra processed foods and animal products, it's really hard over the long run to maintain your health, your vitality, and your happiness with that kind of diet. And that's one of the benefits about growing your own stuff, is that you're going to be eating more of that.
Yeah. So on that though, what should we be considering when we think about things, these key words in nutrition that we hear of, fiber, protein, carbs, fats, these sort of things when it comes to when we're to looking at our overall diet, what's the importance of each of these type of things and how do we balance that out?
Yeah. Well, the good news is it doesn't have to be very complicated.
Right.
You can get on social media and you can go down rabbit holes and be like, well, I'm trying to find the best macro balance. That's your protein, fats, and carbs. And then, should I be fiber maxing? Should I be protein maxing? Should I be carnivore? Should I be keto? There's all sorts of misinformation out there. Let's see, what is John saying? I'll answer that question in a second, but what's John saying? Ashitaba is rich in chalcones, shown to be neuroprotective. Every plant has unique complex of phytonutrients, and each way you process a food will select for different nutrients. Yep. I love it, John. Thank you for sharing that. I have not heard about that phytonutrient. And he does make sure you check out John's show, because he does have lots of good information on with the vacuum blending, the freeze drying, etc.
Yeah. And I was mentioning earlier, I'll just throw this in real quick, just because John is here and everything, that early on in my gardening experience, as I was talking about earlier, there was this, I can grow food, to this, it's kind of important to grow my own food. And part of that process and thinking process and everything was watching John's videos as I was learning how to, grow my cucumbers and tomatoes and build up my garden space and all of that sort of stuff. So, I mean, when it comes to this aspect, talking about nutrition, talking about what we're growing out of our garden spaces, I think John's in a real important content out there, so if you want to learn a lot more about growing food, especially for the nutritional value and raw food and things like that we've been talking about and stuff, definitely go check out Growing Your Greens and John Kohler's channel, because he's got just again an amazing amount of or amazing library full of just an amazing amount of information on all of this sort of stuff.
For sure. Smart dude, wealth of knowledge, lots to learn from John.
That's right.
So let's pick apart some of the things that you mentioned. Let's start with, fiber. I'll just wrap up because we've already started talking about it. We were probably eating more in, like 60 to 100 grams a day of fiber when we were, more gatherers. You look at tribes that are still living as gatherers in parts of Africa and whatnot. They're just getting tons of fiber. And in America, what's our average? Our average is something like 14 grams a day or something like that. It is, it's below even what the government's recommending, which is more like in the mid 20s of grams of fiber. But I don't count my fiber grams, just like I don't count my protein grams or my fat grams, because everything that I eat has fiber, because I eat 100% of my calories come from plants, and there is no fiber in animal products, and there's very little fiber in ultra processed foods like white bread or Oreos, for example. And so I don't really recommend folks to count their fiber grams unless you want to just get an idea of like, oh, maybe this is me. Maybe I'm consuming 12 grams of fiber a day, and let's see where I am, and calculate it for a couple of days and see. And there's apps like Chronometer. I think MyFitnessPal also does it, but one of these apps that allows you to follow your macros, do it for a day or two, and then just see, like, are you already kicking butt with your fiber content, or are you way behind? And just use that as a snapshot. Why is fiber important? It's not just to keep us regular. That's what we used to think is what it was about, but it's actually the preferred food for the healthiest microorganisms in our large intestine and our colon. And that is what helps with gut health. That's what helps with our immune system, with chronic inflammation, and so much about chronic illnesses like diabetes and obesity and heart disease and autoimmune conditions. Even psychiatric, mental health, and neurological conditions. There are a lot of these things that actually have their root cause with an unhealthy barrier in our gut. And what maintains a healthy barrier in our gut is happy microbes that are eating fiber. So if you want a better gut and all the downstream benefits from that, I didn't mean to say downstream when talking about the gut. That way. Yeah. But all the benefits that happen to follow, then eat more fiber.
Yeah. Real quick though, too, as we move on here with the next one. But Val was saying I struggle to get enough fiber. Takes supplements from Costco. But I wanted to mention this as well too, and maybe as we're talking about fiber and things like that. What about supplements? As a doctor, are you recommending supplements, or again, we can grow a lot of this sort of stuff, and again, you're talking about numbers and things like that, keeping track, I suppose with the right proper diet, we don't have to really think about that stuff as much. But what about supplements?
It's a good question. I mean, I work with my patients to get almost all of their nutrition from foods, and for folks who are eating, actually not just for folks who are eating 100% plant-based, but for all folks, especially as we get older, you need to check your vitamin B12 level, and for folks who aren't spending enough time outside because of work or whatever reason, you might need a little bit of extra vitamin D. And then there's some debate about omega-3 supplementation, whether or not we need to take that in the form of what we call long-chain omega-3s, which are either algae oil or fish oil capsules, or whether we get enough from food sources like ground flax, chia, hemp, and walnuts. But the risk with taking a whole bunch of supplements is that they are poorly regulated. And so you got to find the ones that really have third-party review, because sometimes you buy a supplement bottle and it either has 5% of what it says is in there, or maybe it has 500% of what it says it's in there. And then maybe it has 5 other ingredients that aren't on the label. So you just got to be real careful with supplements. That's just the fact of it. Val mentions the fiber supplements, and there's actually some research that showed, for folks with high cholesterol, there's actually some research that shows that adding psyllium husk, which is what a lot of the fiber supplements are, like Metamucil being one brand, that has been shown to lower cholesterol additionally. And so that might be beneficial, whether or not you're eating enough fiber, but to add some psyllium husk. But when someone tells me I struggle to get enough fiber, and when they're my patient and we look over a diet log and we see, what's the issue? Why are you having enough? Why are you having an issue to get enough fiber? Is it because, is it a dentition problem? Is it an appetite problem? Is it that we need to pick some replacement foods to replace the foods that you're eating that don't have any fiber? If it's tough to get enough fiber because, and I'm not picking on you, Val, because I don't know anything about you, but like if you said, well, from my sausage and eggs in the morning and my pizza in the afternoon and my burger in the evening, it's really hard to get enough fiber. So I'd say, yeah, cool. So let's do some switches, right? Let's do oatmeal in the morning, and we do like a veggie pizza in the afternoon and a plant-based burger in the evening or something like that, just to start getting things switched to where the fiber comes more naturally. But I don't have a problem with psyllium husk, and there's been some benefits to it as well for the cholesterol, like I mentioned.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and happy to talk a little bit about protein and fat as that comes up.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going to go next too. Is again too, you're talking, 8% veg diet is a good recommendation, and and again, some folks are gonna, hold on to the meat and a lot of that value. People are like, well, I need my protein. But one of the
Mhm.
things I've heard, and I've heard from a lot of folks who do eat more of a primary vegetable diet, or plant-based diet as it is, that there are ways to get all those proteins that you need that way as well too. So maybe we can speak a bit about those conceptions about the different types of diets, and how best to be getting our proteins from our garden.
Sure. So the the good news is that you can get plenty of protein from plant-based sources, and I think about these as actually really high quality proteins because um, they are high. Things like beans, lentils, chickpeas, split peas are high in protein, and they're also high in fiber, and they're low in fat. And that's the combination that leads to better
Hmm.
health than even the lean beef is, I think, if I remember the percentages right, I think even lean beef is 51%, 49% fat.
Mm.
And you can still call it lean beef, and half of it's fat.
Wow.
Um, and so as compared to some black beans, which is about 3% fat. So it's vastly different in content for the other macros. And so you can't just look at a food and say, well, look at this, it's got more protein than your little wimpy beans. And you got to look to see what company it takes, right? And so so getting your protein from sources that are high in fiber and low in fat is very helpful for our general health. And I think I felt the same way before I started eating this way. I grew up eating, I'm from Texas. I grew up eating barbecue and burgers and all that kind of stuff. And I just thought
Hmm.
like all vegans were going to be like, barely able to get up out of their chair, and stuff due to lack of muscle. And then, thanks to social media, you can just like search vegan bodybuilder, and you see
Hmm.
amazingly strong stacked people who are getting 100% from plant sources, if that's your thing. I don't think that's necessarily the
If
healthiest thing, but you can see
right,
that
right.
it's possible
I
to be
believe
a
that
healthy.
old governor of California, Schwarzenegger, is a plant-based eater as well too.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
he
bodybuilder,
was these bodybuilders who are able to lift cars and stuff, and
yeah.
they're doing off plants. And so so you can get plenty of protein. It's not a fear. It's not a fear. I mean, it's not a valid fear.
Yeah.
If anyone follows, you should check out Dr. Christopher Gardner, who is a professor at Stanford who gives excellent talks on getting enough protein and not worrying about it. And he's just
Mhm.
so knowledgeable in the area, Christopher Gardner. You can find him on YouTube and on various podcasts, and he just
Yeah.
really breaks down the science to show that we get plenty of protein. There's no I saw protein deficiency in starving kids with HIV in Africa, but you don't see protein. You don't really see protein deficiency in America, unless
Mhm.
you're anorexic and or you're dealing with anorexia or some of these other food eating disorders. We're all getting enough protein.
Mhm. Excellent, excellent. Let's talk a little bit about, again, too, carbs. Here's
Mhm.
another one that people talk about a lot, carbs.
Yeah.
How important are carbs?
So carbs are critical. Carbs are probably the most important thing. Well, it's really hard to pick one important thing, but carbs are essential to health. Oh, great. There's someone dropped some info on Christopher Gardner. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, um, carbs are, basically carbohydrates break down into glucose, which is our primary source of fuel. This is what our cells need to run on, is glucose. Our muscles need them to move. Our brains need it to think. And so our diets really should be primarily from carbohydrates. But we have to be careful about using carbohydrate as this blanket term, because a can of Coke has carbohydrates, and so does a cluster of grapes from your backyard have carbohydrates, right? And they're vastly different things. Now, the makers of soft drinks would like us to think that a carb is a carb, but it is certainly not. And so we should be getting healthy carbs. So these are complex carbohydrates that are coming in, all of the whole grains and fruits and vegetables, starchy vegetables like potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, pumpkins. I don't know if I recommend you to sit down and eat a 135-pound pumpkin in one setting, like what you're growing, Enoch, for your record breaker. But squash is an example of a really healthful pumpkin, or squash is an example of a really healthy carbohydrate, because it is not a simple carbohydrate that's been refined in a lab like sugary drinks and ultra processed sweets and all these kinds of things. So I help people who are trying to lose weight, and they're like, wait, you're telling me that to lose weight, I need to be eating all of these carb-rich vegetables? I'm like, yeah, you're going to lose weight because the majority gram per gram, fatty foods just have more calories, right? 9 calories per gram for fat as compared to 4 for a carbohydrate. And so it's fat. It's higher in calories, it stores easier. And so eating a low-fat, high-carb diet in the form of healthy stuff that we grow out of our garden is one of the best ways to get down to your goal weight.
Yeah. And then you mentioned fats there too. Again, something we would associate again with meat and the meat part of our diets and all of that too. But they're healthy fats that we get from vegetables and fruits and things that we grow in our garden.
Yeah. The quality or the type of fat is very important. And so the main driver of the number one killer of adult men and women all around the world, particularly in the developed world, is heart disease. And heart disease is predominantly driven by blood cholesterol levels, and our blood cholesterol levels are predominantly driven by the amount of saturated fat and trans fat in the diet. Trans fat in the United States, synthetic trans fat is officially illegal to be put in into like ultra processed foods, but it's still in there because there's a loophole that if you have less than a gram of it or something per serving, then you can say on the nutritional label that there's 0 trans fat, even if there is trans fat in your product. But anyway, trans fats and saturated fats. And what has saturated fats? Animal products and coconuts and palm oil. But the vast majority of fats that are saturated come from the animal kingdom. And so, and this is not like, I'm not on a pedestal about trying to say that we should all, necessarily just eat plants, even though I think that that's been shown to be pretty good for our health. But like, if you just want to avoid, based on solid evidence, if you want to cut your risk for a heart attack, we really should be eating less saturated fat. And so the unsaturated fats come in things like olives and olive oil, avocado oil, nuts and seeds in general. These are getting your fats from whole plant sources is just the best way to do it. So yes, eat your avocados. Yes, eat your walnuts. Yes, eat your olives. And really try to focus on cutting down saturated fat. It's been shown study after study. There's no disagreement in the scientific community that saturated fat is one of the main drivers of heart attack and death. And yet somehow a big picture of beef is at the top of the pyramid of the 2025 U.S. food guidelines. Try to answer that.
Right. Yeah. We definitely need to be thinking about those sort of things for sure, huh? Let's see here. Serena was asking about supplements. Doesn't matter if supplements are cold processed or not. Also, what's the difference between coral calcium and generic calcium?
I don't know how to answer that. I never heard
Yeah.
of coral calcium. I hope they're
Yeah.
not destroying real live coral for that. But
Right. They
I
have enough problems as it is.
yeah, we really don't. The majority, if so, you can get all the calcium you need from your diet, and it's not. I don't recommend people to get calcium from dairy products in general. I'm thinking things like greens, but and plant sources of calcium are fine. And we really don't need yeah. You can, if you look at what is the world recommending for calcium, like WHO is something super low, like 400 or 600 per day, milligrams per day. In the US, it's depends on your age, if you're a woman after menopause and whatnot, but maybe 1,000 to 1,200. So there's a huge, in the UK, I think maybe it's 700. There's a huge variety of what should we all be getting as adults as far as calcium goes. That usually means that there's a fair amount of variability in the science and that we don't really know the answer. But there are all sorts of great ways to get calcium from the diet. And in general, I don't recommend high dose calcium supplements. If you're going to take a calcium supplement, maybe 200 milligrams a day. That's just one I wouldn't worry about taking. And whether or not something is cold processed or not, it still doesn't mean whether the label accurately reflects what's in the bottle, unfortunately, unless you are going to one that has a whole lot of third-party testing. So be wary about supplements is my
just be wary of them for sure. Again, kind of do probiotics really help with nutrient uptake? Nope asks. I feel like they're a gimmick in a way.
For probiotics, yeah, probiotics are interesting. I just wanted to find one last thing, but probiotics are interesting because they were super in vogue for a while. And now I would say they are less in vogue. I think that, so let's talk a little bit about what's probiotics and prebiotics and postbiotics. These are three different things that are important to know the difference of. So probiotics, what we see advertised, and it's another supplement that's, a big money maker for the supplement industry, is like different healthy bacteria, lactobacillus and all these kinds of things that you can either buy in a pill form or a drink form, or it's part of a yogurt or a kefir or one of these things. And the idea is that, well, then eating these will improve the bacteria in our large intestine, right? We're made up of at least billions of different kind of bacteria in and on our body. And if we, have taken a bunch of antibiotics and we're eating an unhealthy diet, then maybe we need some probiotics to help things. So that's what probiotics are. Prebiotics are what we take in the form of basically fiber-rich foods that then our own bacteria in our large intestine will convert into various healthy substances. And so that's what a prebiotic is. So I think of like oatmeal or kale or beans. Those are all prebiotics. Okay, prebiotics, we talked about probiotics, and then what are postbiotics? Postbiotics are basically the products that our gut bacteria produce. And that's, you might have heard the term short chain fatty acids. These are things like butyrate and propionate that are these really healthy molecules that keep our gut barrier intact, that keep our immune system functioning well, etc. So I'll tell you one aspect about probiotics. We used to say, oh, you just had antibiotics. Here, take some probiotics and this is going to help. A big study looked at this and it actually didn't help. Actually, the people who were on the probiotics after antibiotics seemed to take longer to get back to a healthy microbiome. And so I don't recommend probiotics after antibiotics anymore based on this. They're not in general recommended by the American Gastroenterology Association. There are a couple of specific uses that I would have to look up for more specific conditions. But in general, the best thing that we can do is eat a variety of plant foods that have a variety of fibers that are basically a variety of prebiotics. Now, there's been important studies that looked at, just recently, Christopher Gardner was involved in this, where they looked at probiotic rich foods in the form of fermented foods. And they showed by having the addition of fermented foods to your diet, then that there were some benefits to your microbiome. And so that could be in the form of kefir, that could be in the form of sauerkraut and kimchi and sourdough bread and all these sorts of things that have bacteria that are in the process of making and preserving the food. And so I didn't mention that earlier as part of a healthy diet, but yes, having some sort of a fermented food would be great. And I'd recommend that over buying a supplement.
All right. Let's see here. Bowtie David asks, Jeff, are you familiar with Terrahydrate, Ion Biome, Dr. Zach Bush, and using as a mineral for prebiotic health? If so, can you speak to that at all?
Yeah. I know who Dr. Zach Bush is, David, but I don't know this this product, so I can't comment on it. Sorry.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Blue Wolf was asking a little bit earlier, since avocados are ripened with ethylene gas, how does that affect the health benefits?
That's interesting. You know, ethylene gas has been used in the food industry for a really long time for ripening things that are picked early so that they can withstand shipment and then be ripe in time for the consumer. And so I think still tomatoes are ripened with ethylene gas, but this is a little bit out of my expertise. I have not heard of any deleterious health effects from the ethylene gas itself. I think a little bit more about the picking at peak ripeness is quite nice for nutrient content. Oftentimes flavor and nutrient content are best at peak ripeness, which makes sense, right? We don't enjoy eating green tomatoes in general, especially raw, or unripe peaches. We want to eat them when they're at peak ripeness, and that it tends to also be best for our health at that point. And so foods that are picked early and then ripened with ethylene gas, they're just not at their peak, not at their best nutritionally. Frozen foods like frozen berries and stuff like that are fine, right? They tend to be picked at peak ripeness, flash frozen. So I think that's a great source of healthy nutrition. If we can't grow it in your own garden and you need to buy some frozen raspberries, then go for it. But that's just, it speaks to the idea of freshness, peak nutrition at peak ripeness.
All right. Excellent. Serena asks, what foods does Dr. Jeff recommend for people with glaucoma or have a family history of Alzheimer's? Is there anything specific, or maybe just kind of an improvement in general, as everyone else would, with their overall consumption of, just these more healthier foods?
Yeah, let's start with the Alzheimer's. While I'm looking about the glaucoma, because there's something about glaucoma, but I'd like to speak about Alzheimer's first. So there's a really cool study that came out by Dr. Dean Ornish recently in the last 2 years, where they took folks, and Dr. Ornish is well known for doing research with top-notch institutions, UCSF, Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, et cetera, looking at heart disease, looking at prostate cancer, and he also did one on on Alzheimer's. And they got a bunch of people who had early Alzheimer's, what they call mild cognitive impairment, and put them on a Dr. Ornish style program, which is a healthy plant-based diet, regular exercise, meditation, stress reduction, and group work. And he always sums up his stuff as eat well, move more, stress less, love more. Eat well, move more, stress less, love more. And those folks, it's fascinating. You can find stuff on YouTube as well as read the actual scientific article in PubMed. But it showed that there were the rate of decline slowed. Some people actually got better, which is amazing. For folks who don't know, Alzheimer's is a huge problem. So many of our loved ones are affected by this just horrible progressive dementia. And there are no great treatments, right? Most of the treatments do very little and can be expensive and can have real side effects like brain swelling. And so there is no magic bullet in the form of a pharmaceutical for Alzheimer's. That study was so powerful, and there are others related to healthy diet and slowing your risk and slowing your progression or lowering your risk of getting it in the first place, based on you got to stay active, you got to eat well, avoid high cholesterol levels, because what clogs up our hearts also clogs up the brain arteries, etc. So if for folks who either want to avoid Alzheimer's or have very early Alzheimer's, then they need to check out the work from Dr. Ornish and others. As far as glaucoma, so glaucoma is an eye disease. And there is less in the research for glaucoma. There are foods that are high in carotenoids and dietary nitrates that seem to help, but it's not as well studied. I would say that, so there's some stuff in the evidence that shows that eating more these so high carotenoids, so the orange and the reds and even green vegetables, this mixture of plants may help. And when people ask me about, well, what about this? It's not really studied for this condition or even a more rare condition. Like, is it going to help? I'd say, well, we don't know for sure if it's going to help, but the chances is that it increases your chance for doing better with this condition, perhaps. But it's also, we know it's going to cut your risk for diabetes. It's going to cut your risk for, heart attacks, and lower your risk for breast cancer and colon cancer and prostate cancer, and all the things that we do have robust scientific evidence for from eating a more plant-rich diet, eating more kind of stuff from our garden. And so while I can't say for sure, is your glaucoma going to get better by eating more greens and more sweet potatoes, it may help, but it's definitely also going to help these other areas. And I think that's one thing that we don't think about, because even if we have one condition, say we have this rare cancer, we want our bodies to be in as tip-top shape as possible to deal with the complications of the treatment, to avoid the heart attack. People with certain conditions may not die from that condition. They're still more likely to die from the heart attack, right? So you want to maximize your health whenever possible, regardless of what the specific condition is.
Yeah. No, that's really great. And, real great point, though, ultimately, is preventive solutions are better, in the long run. Let's, get started doing these things so that, like you said, our bodies, our brains, whatever, are all set and ready to handle, or not set and ready, but I mean, more capable or better, healthier to handle some of these sort of things that could come on later, versus dealing with it afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Preventive maintenance, not solutions after the fact, right?
Right. The old ounce of prevention versus a pound of cure holds true here as well. It's much easier to prevent things, but then, we're not always that lucky to prevent everything. And then when you got something, you just got to work harder at it.
We are humans. We're humans, and we don't think of stuff. And we, sometimes, we are like, I'll just deal with it later, that sort of stuff. And, it's just, but ultimately, that's what makes growing a garden so important, and so so good for us in a sense, is to grow all of these great foods for all of this really high nutritional value that we can get out of it, so that again, we can build ourselves up, make ourselves healthier, and maybe even, as I remember that first talk when I first got to see you talk and stuff, talking about creating diets and for health to prevent some things and even reverse some things that happen, and and that sort of stuff. I just find that so, not necessarily, I don't think fascinating is the right word, but it's just, I think it's huge. It's a huge part of our gardening experience is to be able to grow for that health benefit.
Yeah. I think very motivating when we have some degree of control over our health. I think one of the challenging parts and scary parts is that, oh man, all these people in my family have diabetes, and a lot of folks have, cancer in my family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You're like, I guess that's just the genes that I've gotten. This is just my destiny. And it's so much more empowering to have, to feel like we've got control, an agency to say, actually, I can, within reason, because we all have certain life constraints, but how I make my day up day after day is going to greatly affect my present and future health. Right. So am I getting up early and working in the garden and breaking a sweat, burning calories, getting sun for my vitamin D production, eating healthy vegetables, or first thing I wake up is I smoke a half pack of cigarettes. Like watch television. Like there's a huge difference in those health pathways.
Yes.
And so,
yeah. Why not take the better road? The one that has the better outcomes in the long run. Yeah. But again, we're working with the human mind. I think that some of us we just don't think right sometimes. But anyways. One last question for you here as it goes down, and we'll use this question as a finishing up for today. Again, just really awesome to have you here. What another great discussion with you here on the show, talking about all this, growing our gardens for nutrition and the different other topics that we've touched on today. But again, tell us a little bit about, as Bowtie Life here asked earlier on in the show, how would you define your medical practice? Holistic, functional, integrated, lifestyle? And I'll just remind everybody that we got links down below, so you can follow Dr. Jeff on his Instagram for one, or you could get onto a telehealth appointments and all of that sort of stuff too with the links that we have down below. But how would you define your medical practice, Dr. Jeff?
Yeah, great question, Dave. David, those are different specialties. So functional medicine, integrative medicine, lifestyle medicine. I think they can all be holistic, but those three are different. And so personally, I practice lifestyle medicine. I'm a family doctor that got extra training in lifestyle medicine, and that is a field of medicine that uses scientific evidence to make recommendations based off of really 6 pillars of health and healthy habits. So that's a healthy diet, daily movement, restorative sleep, stress reduction, avoidance of toxins like smoking and heavy drinking, and lastly, love and connection. And so I think that's quite holistic to look at a patient when I work with someone, or any lifestyle medicine works with somebody. Anyone in lifestyle medicine works with somebody. They are not just saying like, well, do you exercise? Or not just asking like, what do you eat in a day? But really trying to look at the big picture, because you could eat great and exercise a lot, but feel like you don't have a friend in the world, and feel constantly alone and isolated. And that is horrible for your health. And just feels horrible. And so I think a lot of those folks, the functional medicine docs and the integrative medicine docs, do a lot of that as well. Integrative medicine docs tend to have other treatment modalities up their sleeves, like herbs and acupuncture, and maybe Chinese medicine and things like that. That's a little bit more special to them. And then functional medicine is a specialty that does focus on healthy diet, but they have more of they tend to have more of a focus on so a little bit more esoteric stuff that might not have as much research, and a little bit more lab-based, kind of looking at some less commonly ordered labs and trying different supplements to correct some conditions that you haven't been able to fix with your regular allopathic doc. So that's kind of, so I would say definitely I'm a lifestyle medicine provider. And sometimes it seems too simple. You mean you're like, you think I'm gonna get healthier just by eating better and moving more and sleeping better? And it turns out that, yeah, like 80 to 90% of chronic illnesses can be avoidable. And many of those same ones are treatable and sometimes reversible by just focusing on those 6 areas.
Yeah, yeah. Really great stuff. Absolutely awesome. So great again too. I just always look forward to these conversations, having you here. As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's what makes this show so great. Is that we get all these just amazing people with all this awesome knowledge. But what better to have an actual lifestyle practicing doctor to come in to our show and be able to give us all of this. I mean, just tons of just great information today. What an awesome discussion.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Love all the questions and comments. And thanks for giving me a chance to connect about my passions, which is, gardening and trying to be healthy.
Yeah, that's right. We again to always look forward to it. We're going to look forward to the next time around. And again, too, if you all want to check out the links down below to find Dr. Jeff. And yeah, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And like I said, look forward to the next time we get you on the show.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll have a ton more great things to share with everybody.
Definitely.
All right. I'll be right back. 1 second here. All right. There you have it. I hope you all had enjoyed that conversation. I hope we got a lot of your questions answered and talked about some things that you can find important. And again, get out there and grow a garden and grow all of this great, amazing food, and build up, our health through our own gardens and our own food that we grow. It's just I think it's just one of the more amazing things about this ability we have to be able to garden and to grow all of these just awesome plants, is to be able to grow all of this just really great food for ourselves and get all this great nutrition and all of the wonderful benefits that come along with it and everything. So again, thanks to Dr. Jeff for helping us, figure it all out just a little bit better with some really great knowledge and everything too. So again, really awesome conversation today. And again, everyone, thank you too for all being here. Thank you all for all of your really great questions today. Just really made for a really great conversation with Dr. Jeff. Now, I also mentioned too that if you didn't get a chance to, go check out yesterday's show. We had another just fantastic conversation yesterday. We had Jennifer Jewell, the host of Cultivating Place, an award-winning national public radio show and podcast. And again, she's got a bunch of other really cool stuff coming up that we talked about, a 10-part PBS series that she's got coming out this next year, and a symposium coming out in a little while. You want to go back and check out and learn about all of that great stuff. We got to meet Doug from the Crockett Gardener on the show yesterday for our Are You Following Me? Another one of the Coast to Coast crew joining with us here for our Are You Following Me segment on yesterday's show. So if you didn't get a chance to go check that out, definitely go back, check out yesterday's show, as well as last week's community shows. We did both Saturday and Sunday community shows where you, the audience, got to be the guest. So fun getting to hang out with all of you who come and join with us in our chats each and every weekend, but getting you on the show with us, like a call-in radio show. We share with you guys the links and you guys come on and talk all about your gardens. It was some really great fun conversations, some new faces that we got to meet as well. And also too, again, I'll just mention we snuck in a little bit of fundraising for community shows last week, and again to a little bit this weekend as well too. We do have links down below in the description to our Cash App, Venmo, PayPal for direct donations, and no donation is too small when it comes down to it. And our good friend Jay, our facilitator, also pledged to double the donations too. So if you donate $5, I mean just a simple $5 to one of those direct donation apps there, Jay will throw in another $5 and make it $10. $2 will be $4, and $10 will be $20, and all of that sort of stuff. But any donation is greatly appreciated, helping us keep the lights on here on the show. And in fact, I don't know if you noticed, it's been a little it's actually a little darker in here than normal, because I forgot to turn a light on before. I was noticing it halfway through the show. I was like, oh, I forgot to turn on. It's not because we didn't pay the bills though, that's for sure. But definitely appreciate all that you guys donate and help out this show, especially all the free stuff that you can do too as well. The like button, and commenting on the replays, sharing with your friends and letting them know about the Let's Get Growing show and all of that sort of stuff. All of those sort of things that you all do as well too is so greatly appreciated. You just help our show out so much, for sure. Jay says it's a dark, rich green background. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a little bit darker, but because I don't got my front light in front of me, but it's all right. It still looks all right. It's not too bad. I won't think about it too much when it comes down to it. But right on, everybody. Thank you so much again. And also look forward to our shows coming up next Saturday. We've got Nick Katsumpis, Farmer Nick, joining us for our feature conversation on next Saturday's show. So definitely come and join with us next Saturday. I mentioned about the Sunday edition. Next Sunday, we usually have our good friend Gardner Scott on with us, but Gardner Scott had something last minute come up as well too, so we're going to have to hold off maybe one more month or so. We'll see, maybe we can fit him in somewhere, but we'll get him coming back on the show here real soon. I've got an idea and something I'm working on for another great fun conversation for the Sunday edition next Sunday too, so stay tuned and tune in with us next Sunday. Again, we'll have another fantastic show in store for you. And also Sunday after that is our third Sunday of the month, and that's our monthly gardening book club. Yes, that's right. Our good friend, Mr. NBC, Mark Bear, joins with us live on the show for In the Garden, and a great feature conversation with Charlie Nardozzi, joining with us here to talk about his new book, The Continuous Vegetable Gardener. That's our feature selection for this month's monthly gardening book club. So I hope you guys all come and join with us for that fun conversation. It's always I love the book clubs. The book clubs are so great. And not only that, get yourself a copy of that Continuous Vegetable Garden. Read it if you can before our show, and come and join us and ask Charlie some questions about some of the content of his book and all of that too. So yes, going to be really fun. Really looking forward to all of that. And again, everybody, just another great show here with all of you today. Let's see, was there anything else I wanted to mention? I know there's something. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I think we got most things covered for today. Again, thank you to our amazing guest, Dr. Jeff, for another great conversation here on the show today. And definitely come and join with us next Saturday on the show. Oh, wait, let's see. We got a question popped up real quick. Thank you, Jay. Dusty Flats asks, are the fires staying away, Enoch? Well, the big fire I was mentioning to all of you over the last few weeks has been brought down and contained pretty well. So that one isn't really that bad, but we have got more bigger fires. Oregon's having probably a record fire season, early fire season right now. So there's still a bunch more going on throughout the state here. And I know throughout Washington, Canada, of course, a bunch of other wildfires all throughout, this whole region North America, in fact. But a little better, at least for the one that's right immediately here in our valley is a little bit better. But we're still early on in the fire season, so we'll just have to kind of hope for the best as we move through the rest of this season. So, yeah, but at least that one's doing a little bit better. So, all right, everybody. We'll see all of you next Saturday. We'll see you then.
All right, they're gonna run. See you on the flippy flops.